just to give us a couple extra inches. Again, always important to use barn wood if you can find it. We're going to do a video here. I'm putting on a leather hand-stitched steering wheel cover. Apparently it's cow leather. So we'll unbox this, and I'll put a link in the description for you can buy it on Amazon as well. We'll unbox it and see what's in there. We've got some cow leather. It smells like cow leather. So that, in theory, should fit on here. Handy dandy booklet. Tells you what to do. And looks like we have partial, like a thimble for pushing down on the needle. And string, and a couple needles inside. Two things of string and two needles. Not too pokey. These will be used to go up underneath the stitch that's already on the cow leather. So we'll start stretching this over and get cracking. I'm going to center the wheel just to make it easier. Okay, steering wheel centered. I'm trying to put the center of the stitching towards the bottom of the steering wheel, and we're going to have to stretch it over. It's pretty slippery, so you probably get a knee or two involved while you're pulling on it to try and get it as centered as possible. And then once you get it on, you can move it around to center it a little bit better. Thread your string through the needle. Might need to get it a little bit wet. There we are. Pull it to the center of the string. And then we're going to tie the other end of it. So you have the end of it, both ends actually, because the needle's sitting in the center on the other end. You take this and you tie a knot. Like that. Leave a bit at the end. We're going to start by getting my feet out of the camera, but we put the needle through the back side for the first push, actually through the leather. So it doesn't go through at all with that big loop you tied, which we'll use towards the end. And then you're going to pull all of that string back with the needle attached to start going through these loops here. Start on the one closest to you. And go through the one on the back side as well. And you can see it's going to pull it pretty tight. And then you do that about 1 billion more times all the way around. And we switch it up a little bit when we get to the angles of the steering wheel. And I'll catch you up there. Right, so we've done this little section here. Gone pretty successfully, looks good. We're getting close to one of the angles on the steering wheel. So we're going to have to switch up our pattern here so we can go around it, and then we'll connect back over on the other side. So we're going to do one more like normal, keeping tension on it just to keep everything nice and tight. Go back around the back, thread as well. All right, so that's nice and tight, and now we're going to mix it up a little bit. So we're going to go through the leather here. I'm getting on the inside of that leather. Remember to keep tension on this stuff to keep it nice and taut. And now, instead of going back through the strings on both sides, we're just going to go through the strings on the inside of this, and we're going to wrap them around until we get to here. And I'm going to cinch it back together, go through the leather one more time, and then continue on with the strings. Inside string. You can see the string likes to kind of give you a bit of grief, so rather than power it through, just kind of finesse it, talk to it if you need to. Got another one here. Since it's doubled up, it likes to tangle a little bit, but it's not the most binding string ever, so if you learned your lesson while you were spinner fishing, then you know a lot of times it's easier to finesse than just power. So we got a couple of those, and we'll be doing this for a little bit. I'll catch you up at the end. Getting close now. So I've come to this one here, which is pretty close, and then we're going to go back just a slight overlap, and we're going to push back through the leather to get back under the front side of the leather. So go through one of the holes. And then we're going to go right back to how we were doing before, and go through the strings as per normal. There we are. And we're back onto strings. Just try and keep it as taut as possible throughout the whole process. It's going to make it look better. And we'll catch you at the next arm of the steering wheel. So I'm about halfway. Hopefully you're about the same. If not, keep going. And hopefully you've been working on your butt indentation into your seat, because you've been getting really acquainted with your car. But the reason I'm checking in is I'm still on my first thing of thread. This came with 2. So I'm feeling more comfortable now that I've made it at least halfway. Make sure you're keeping tension on this each time while you're going through there. So you don't want things to be sloppy, and you don't want this to be loose while you're driving. So the more tension you can keep on there while you keep going and pulling it straight, the better. So we'll keep going. We gotta get our way back down to here and do that inside threading again, and I'll catch you then. Don't forget to hydrate. It's pretty warm here in the summer, and you've been sitting here for 45 minutes, maybe an hour. You gotta drink. And while we're doing that, we're getting to the other arm of the steering wheel here. So, ice cream truck in the background is always good. If you've gone this far, it's probably worth you getting an ice cream. So, if you have an ice cream truck. All right, we've come to that. So we're gonna do that thing where we poke through here, through the leather. Keep it nice and tight, and then we're going to go on the inside of these again. So keep your friction over here, and keep wrapping it out through the inside of these only on this side, and then we'll connect back to the other side when we get around the corner. So we're going to go just a little bit past it. Then I'm going to go back one and go back through the leather hole. Then we can get back on with the regular stitching again. Something like that. Pull it nice and snug. Keep it nice and taut. That's what's going to make it look good and be functional, so you're not slipping around and people are going to be admiring your handiwork. Sometimes you have to individually pull, since you're dealing with 2. Getting close to the end, you want to make sure you keep everything tight. And if you had this little loop that you started with the knot at the beginning, you want to pull that out, because you're going to use this to tie your last knot when you're finished, which is in a couple strokes for me. So some say strokes, some say stitches. I guess it depends on messed up your vocabulary is. I don't think anybody actually says strokes. All right, so I'm getting close here. It's a pretty good bonding experience you have with your car. So I got these left over. I only ended up using one of the string sets they sent me, so. But I don't have much left, as you can see. I didn't do that knot very well. Try that again. With all that sewing you've been doing, you can see this little loop here might start getting a little bit frayed, so mine held out the whole time, but if you're really pulling tight, I could see it getting frayed and it could snap. But just maybe back off a little bit on pulling it tight. You want to keep it snug, but not too crazy to where you fray this. I can't tell you in foot-pounds, sorry, what that's going to be. And apparently I can't tie a knot. Tie this knot. I'm just going to do that, kept it snug, and I'll do another. And third time's a charm, hopefully. Alright, that feels pretty tight. And then try and shove that back underneath. Find one of the holes where you could push it through the leather. Hide all that knottage. Cut off any extra pieces that are left over. Alright, we'll snip that off and then we should be good to go. So we've pushed that last knot in here, and now it's time to enjoy your handiwork. Not too bad for 10 bucks from Amazon. Not too bad at all. Feels great. You can always twist this slightly if your stitching isn't quite centered. It's not going to move too much, and it's definitely not going to move this way because of how you sewed it on here. Enjoy.